So Miitopia is a game that's very customizable in terms of challenge runs, you could say. By that I mean that there are a lot of different possibilities for challenge runs in Miitopia. Throughout my days of making non-shit Let's Play videos, I've done quite a couple of challenge runs on Miitopia, but the last one I made was Sprinkleless, and that was all the way back in May. It's been almost half a year since, so why not do another? Today I will be beating Miitopia without eating any sort of grub, as suggested by Cam as a response to this community post I made all the way back in July. However, this time around, I have a special guest to help me who is none other than my good old buddy old pal, Ujikloin.
Hello, wow, or something.
Let's get this started. Without further ado, let's go. Can you beat Miitopia without eating grub? For a first troublesome boss, the imp isn't really too bad. I had no idea beforehand, but my Greenhorn team was very well prepared for this challenge, even if it was just composed of literally the same jobs as all my other runs, without heal as a mono-job run, which, yeah. Because this boss resides so early on in the game, our main drawback has not yet festered enough, since either nobody would have high enough food stats by this point. I suspect that whenever we reach Rum of the Fae, stuff will go south really fast, but for now it isn't too bad.
The Golem would have had a very high probability of insta-killing pretty much anyone on the team if it weren't for doing Air Frontier first, which overleveled everyone to the point where they couldn't get insta-killed. Otherwise, this fight, mostly thanks to elevated armor and weapon stats, along with a relatively small pool of sprinkles we have, which I'll only be referring to as drugs from now on in the video. Don't do drugs unless in Miitopia so I don't get sued. Next. The Griffin is the Golem on steroids. First of all, no over-leveling this time around, Sag. Second of all, this attacks 3 times per turn and deals a lot of damage to whoever it hits, and nearly always leaves them at very low HP, but luckily no insta-kill, which is really nice. A good way to counter this is by double healing with Polly and Isla. Polly heals someone, Isla gives Polly another turn with Encore, which is used for another heal. However, that never happened during the fight. Isla never encored Polly, and always chose to either attack normally or used on Alex for more damage, which is also helpful but far less. Whenever the Griffin decides to waste a turn by trying to hit a me with an emotional status, it's actually a really big blessing, so it gives a really good opportunity to heal in the safe spot if they're at low HP, or waste an attack on his end if the status doesn't work. With enough luck and a life drug at the very end, this boss should be down.
I was wrong. The general is really damn hard. First of all, remember how every boss thus far could have insta-killed someone on the team if they had slightly lower HP or had a more powerful attack? Well, yeah, the general has the more powerful attack, which insta-kills almost anything it touches, along with a destructive AoE attack that can reduce everyone to around half HP. Probably the most helpful relationship ability you can have here is Avenge, since any attack that isn't the basic one has a high chance of either insta-killing or just normally taking down someone when combined with another attack of any kind. Because the probability of me's dying here is so much higher, Avenge is really nice to have because of the insane multiplier on the attack given by it. Another trick I can use here is to safe spot a me right before the general will do an AoE attack to be able to take him out and have them act as a sort of shield for the general that can be hit while the others take their time to heal. So overall, really difficult fight. On the next door.
The Minotaur is in a way very similar to the general, just at a lower level. Now that we've entered next door, nobody having any food buff starts to show itself, because the game by this point expects Stan to have at least some food buffs by now, throws at enemies that hit harder than in Greenhorn. This is mostly fixed with the higher quantity of drugs available. Still a first boss of the world, so it isn't all too bad.
This isn't really that bad too. It's pretty simple actually. It can hit pretty hard, but all you gotta do is just pay more attention to the weaker teammates like Maria and kill them more often. Much easier said than done though.
Just ignore the little snakes. Maybe try to take down the blue ones and can hit semi-hard, but it really isn't too bad. Maybe use of AoE attacks like lightning that hits multiple targets at once, but yeah, this one isn't really too hard.
This boss has a high tendency to spam Fire Breath all the time, which is basically a better version of the rock attack from the previous boss, which deals a lot more damage compared to its rock counterpart, especially when spammed. It's time like this when that really makes me wish I had one more healer for next door, but here we are. Not necessarily too bad, but definitely the hardest next door boss thus far by a pretty significant margin.
This is once again another boss with insta-killing abilities. Whenever the sword and shield attack together, it's pretty much an instant one-shot for any Mii it hits. Because a vast majority of the damage comes from the sword, focus on killing that first and then attack the shield. Preferably use a high damage attack like a cat's horseplay to take it down as fast as possible. So the more the sword lives, the longer the chance of a Mii being insta-killed is.
Pharaoh is very likely the hardest boss thus far. First of all, you should waste an attempt to see his pattern of cursing Miis so you can plan around that. Second, preferably enter the fight without bananas so you can't have anything to give to the boss, healing him in the process. This time around, the pattern for cursing Miis seemed to just go from left to right, so right before the Pharaoh had his turn, I put my Mii in the safe spot so he started with Rin instead of my Mii, since I would have liked to use Cat's horseplay, but apparently not because the horse didn't do a single productive thing the winning attempt. Yeah, thanks a bunch, horse. Other than that, a really good strategy to use against this guy is that once he curses a Mii, you put one of the Miis around the cursed one in the safe spot. That way, the AoE attack won't hit 3 Miis and instead only 2 or even 1 if the Mii cursed is one of the extremities. That, along with in general healing in the safe spot and sprinkling, should get you past this. On Realm of the Fae. Realm of the Fae is kind of a 75-25% chance roll in runs. In a vast majority of runs it's pretty easy, but in Defenseless and part of Healless it was very hard. Because the run where this was the most difficult was Defenseless, this has me a bit worried. Let's go. The Spider is another one of those near insta-killer bosses. This time, however, we have even more sprinkles compared to the amount we had next door. That, combined with the, at this point, expected level 40 relationship with Grina, this boss goes down relatively easy even with the little spiders.
Finally, I appear as well! Anyway, the owl is really easy. Status effect is negligible, and it doesn't even deal that much damage. On top of that, counter arrow exists, which is even more protection against this not even that threatening boss. Next!
Tomato bursts are easy. As usual, the teammates who love tomatoes are basically invincibles, but less so this time around when compared to something like Sprinkleless. Still pretty easy overall.
Screw this boss. 2 AoE attacks that hit pretty hard overall. We're mostly saved by the fact that our defense stat isn't crap, unlike Defenseless, where it hit way harder thanks to lower defense stat. Fact script. This time close out a lot to the defense stat and makes attacks much more bearable. Even with that, a lot of healing was necessary, mostly from me, while Dan and Krina did most of the damage. Normally a fight like this would require a lot of safe spotting, but not this time around, weirdly enough. Next! Just an easier slime, really. It doesn't just have an AoE attack, which is nice, but the AoE attack it does have affects all 4 of us. However, due to it affecting the whole board, Healing Melody actually activated and happened, which helped reduce the amount of drugs we had to use and the amount of healing we had to do. Pretty simple overall, and much easier than the slime. Next!
Stink Breath Slime wasn't all too bad. Unlike pretty much all other fights in this world, I got Scientist Horseplay, which knocked down a pretty significant portion of its HP. The Stink Breath here is pretty bad for us since it's an all-board pretty strong AoE attack. However, we were semi-saved by the Healing Melody and the long charge-up time, which allowed for a lot of damage to be dealt with the frog wasting its turns. And with that, it's on to Karkaton. Karkaton is generally regarded as the hardest part of any Miitopia playthrough. It has the most bosses out of any area, and also has that one mandatory fiend that isn't actually mandatory because I managed to avoid it in my Nuzlocke, but who cares. Let's go. Unlike any other time, I broke tradition in my runs, and instead of rescuing Polly first, I rescued Ujik. And to be perfectly honest, I did not first try this. I had to make sure my Mii was always at full health before being attacked by the Magma Slime, because it dealt a lot of damage and I had a pretty low defense stat, so as a result, the slime could very easily two-shot me. Still pretty easy due to it solely being a 1v1 where I have two things that help me against it, being the Great Sage and Horse.
The Pain Cloud is much harder than you'd expect. First of all, its damage output is really big, me being pretty underleveled due to 4th realm of the Fae teammate syndrome. The Pain Cloud could pretty easily two-shot either one of us. The AoE attack is not necessarily a problem, but the normal single target attack is, especially with the only 2 people. A really big help here is the Great Sage, as he helps an absolute crap ton. Overall pretty simple, but challenging at the same time. Burning Golem isn't too bad. The strategy of safe spotting the middle person so the other 2 can get hit by the AoE attack one by one instead of all together holds its weight here too. However, it might have been a middle person dies and Polly constantly tries to revive them and fail. Either way, it works out always good.
This fight is straight up hell. The Cerberus is generally known to absolutely suck in challenge runs. This is no different. First of all, low defense stat. This automatically leads to the Cerberus dealing an absurd amount of damage in just 3 turns. Second of all, you pretty much absolutely need good horse RNG to be able to get Mage's Horseplay at any point during the fight. Third of all, safe spot limboing is 100% necessary. Fourth of all, you really have to hope and pray that the Cerberus wastes some of its turns on a Nightmare attack. And fifth of all, you need good enough Great Sage RNG to be able to have them do the move that's most beneficial to you, be it Cure Tower Flame. All of this has to go right and then some. I found 2 of the biggest helps here being 1, my 2 healers, and 2, the fact that when 2 Miis gain a relationship level together, they both fully heal. Eventually I did get a god attempt where everything lined up and I pulled through. The only time I've ever linked a full completion of mine from a challenge run somewhere was when I uploaded the 2 teammate Dark Sun completion to my 2nd channel, RIP. So I'll go ahead and post this to the Daniel Logic Loin channel. I'm linking in this description. Easy, free. Praise and Mage's Horseplay absolutely annihilated this boss. Next.
The wonders of drugs, everyone. They absolutely obliterated the boss. Try your best to take down the armor here first before everything else. It's the most necessary by a landslide and goes down pretty fast with magic attacks. After you've done that, it's pretty easy to take down the sword and shield since they're not anywhere near as strong as the extra ones, or at least with the higher levels when compared to the ones in Dextroy. The dragon is pretty much a fire breath spam machine. Because of this, it's pretty easily neutralized by Panacea and Feast spam.
The Dark Lord is overall pretty easy. Once you reach the 2nd phase, it's free as long as the Dark Lord doesn't steal the protagonist's fates, which luckily didn't happen to me. The 1st phase is easy as long as you get Mage's Horseplay. On to Traveler's Home quests. Traveler's Hub quests were really easy. Even normally hard bosses like Wolf-O-Wisp were easy, free. Let's just get these out of the way faster so we can get onto the Skyscraper. The Yeti's basically an easier general. The general was really hard, but it was mostly hard because of its insta-kill ability, which this doesn't have, so it wasn't really too bad.
Orgor is a heavy hitter, but not really too bad. On to Skyscraper.
Skyscraper is most of the time easy, but sometimes not. I don't know, man. Let's just get this over with.
Phantom of Evil is pretty easy. It's just Dark Lord's first phase extended to a whole fight, and Dark Knight's first phase wasn't too bad. This isn't either.
This boss's side enemies have the exact same amount of HP as the boss itself, and I know this is in the script for every challenge run, but I really have nothing else to say for this fight. It had absolutely nothing interesting to it, and this is the best I've got, okay? Final boss now.
Darker Lord's right hand is almost 100% a safe spot limbo. Nothing more, nothing less, just safe spot limbo for 16 hours. That's it.
Well, this is a joke. Hyper Sprinkles, Shield Sprinkles, I killed it so insanely fast, and on top of that, it just wasn't anything special. It barely dealt any damage, it just was not as hard as the other bosses. And that's all. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye.